On this week's podcast and in this month's Reiki share, we're talking about those beliefs that limit us. And sometimes it's really easy to pinpoint those limiting beliefs, but sometimes they're really deep under the surface and we're not even aware that we're there, that they are there. And we've got a few exercises, a few things that we're going to do just to try to figure out what is limiting us in our lives, and then begin to release. We'll do a pretty significant meditation, and we will look at releasing all of the things, all of the limits that we have placed upon ourselves, or maybe that have been placed upon us by society or by the culture that we live in. But regardless of where the limits come from, this session is all about letting them go. Before we get too far in, I'd just like to let you know about a few of the things we have coming up, and the classes that are coming up immediately. As the podcast is released, I'll be teaching online in an Asian-friendly time zone, which in Atlantic Canada is 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. In Eastern Canada, it's a little later. It's 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. and so on as you go across North America. So if anybody would like to review a class with me, or if you would like to take these classes for the first time, when you do take classes from a licensed teacher, you do qualify for professional membership in the Reiki Membership Association with the International Center for Reiki Training, if you choose. And if you would like to just get up very early and join me online, there's an additional day. So the level 1 and 2 class is over 3 days and the master class is over 4 days. And they begin Saturday, July 16th is the level 1 and 2 class. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is our master class. It's a nice way to go ahead and review a class and still have a good chunk of your day free if you don't mind getting up a little bit early. And this helps our Asian students who can join us in the evening, their time. And our European students can join us at a normal time in the morning. So go ahead and join us for those if you'd like. And I also want to let you know that the ICRT Animal Reiki class that I'm teaching on Campobello Island with the whales is not full. And so for that, I thought that class was going to fill, but as it hasn't, if anybody would like to review that class, you're also welcome to join us. That is an in-person class, although if you really want to join online, let me know and we can make that happen. And after the 2 days, the weekend, July 23rd and 24th, the Monday, we are going to actually go out on a whale watching tour. And I have had an opportunity. The minke whales came into the harbor to visit us, so I was able to see them from the front porch of the Campobello house a week ago Saturday, which was just amazing. And that was just the next day, and they never go into that harbor. That's not their normal place. I really feel that they could feel the Reiki energy that I've been really working on the ocean and sending Reiki into the oceans, and they're also very aware of the whale class that we have coming up. And I just believe, because they had only arrived on the island the day before, the Friday, and the Saturday morning they were in our harbor, and just the whale boats followed them in. And it was a bit foggy, but they came close enough that we could see them with our bare eyes. It was just stunning. Yeah, wow. And then the bigger whales probably can't make it into our harbor, but they are there as well, and we've been out to see them. You can actually see them from land sometimes, not always. You can definitely see them from the whale boats, but you can sometimes also see them from land, and they're just stunning. You can hear them blow. We went out at sunset one night, and one of the island residents had told me that you'll hear them, and I didn't know what she meant, but when there were no boats out, it was sunset, there were no whaleboats. The waters were boiling with dolphins and porpoises who were feeding, and the whales, I heard 5 blows, and it wasn't until the 5th blow that I could see where they were. But they were just so loud, the sound across the water. It was just, and there was the bigger whales, and it was just spectacular. Although the minkies aren't tiny, but they're not as big as the finbacks and the humpbacks and the right.
Oh, I was just gonna ask if the humpbacks were there yet.
I believe so, Amy. Yeah, because we just missed when we went over to go over to the lighthouse. We just missed a display, and it's often the humpbacks that do the displays. They came right in the channel in front of all the people. So the people were sitting on the benches, and they started leaping out of the water,
Oh,
reaching and splashing down. And I guess they were enormous. So I believe that's typical humpback behavior. So I think they're all there now. And certainly we noticed the sardines are there, and it's just stunning. And one of the things that I'm doing with the whale class for anybody who wants to join me, and actually anybody coming for the Animal Reiki Masters, the whale day is also the Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is the Animal Reiki Master class. Anybody who's coming for that can come along too on the Monday for the whale day. But for all the people that participate, I'm planning to make a donation to the whale rescue group that exists on the island. And there's this wonderful group that they track a lot of data on the whales. It's got filled with scientists and conservationists. And in addition to that, they go out, and any whales that get tangled in fishing equipment or so on, they go out and they've got a protocol and a system, and they get them free. And in fact, they're helping other groups in other regions set those up right now. So the scientists from our group on Campobello, the whales aren't getting caught as much around Campobello because the fishermen are all very concerned about the whales, and many of them have invested heavily in a new style of equipment that the whales are less likely to get tangled in. And so we've been very fortunate. But we're noticing that with warming waters, the whales are moving north. And the scientist from our whale rescue group was in Shippagan last week helping to detangle a whale that had got tangled up. So it's just such a fascinating dynamic and culture. And we were able to get up close and personal with the seals as well. There's a couple, 2 main varieties of seals there, and I don't know, it's just stunning. So if you'd like to join for that class, it's not too late, and if you'd like to review, I would welcome you to come and do that. And then later on in August, I do have a Karuna Reiki class and an animal communication class that are in an Australian friendly time zone. So it's early morning in Australia, and it's actually late evening or in Eastern North America, and just normal evening in Western North America. So I'd love to have you join us for any of those if you'd like. So tonight I'd like to talk about limitations, and it's interesting. I was told, you guys know that I always ask, and I use the word God, hey God, what are we talking about tonight? What do people need? And I thought we were going to be talking about religious trauma or something along those lines, because I'm doing a series in the podcasts on religion. And certainly some of our limitations can come from religious trauma, but I very clearly heard, no, you're talking about limitations. Okay, what are we saying? And so I just love that. I don't have to do very much work for this. I just listen, and I'm guided as to what we need to talk about. And for this exercise today, it might be helpful for you to have something that you can write on, whether it's a pad and paper. Some people take notes in their phone, whatever it is that you need. that's going to be handy. We're going to be doing a little bit of automatic writing and really try to dig into what is holding each of us back. And so limitations are so interesting because one of the things that Reiki has shown me is that they are so often, there's something that we put on ourselves. The limitations there, we occasionally feel that we're a victim or that something's not working out, and yet when you really dig into that, 9 times out of 10 it's because of a limiting belief that is not allowing you to accomplish an objective or something along those lines. And everyone has limiting beliefs. One of the things, and just to be straight, people sometimes are a bit confused when I'm talking about the Campobello house. We haven't moved, but we did finally realize a dream of purchasing some property on the water. And so we have that as a vacation house that we get to go to. And it's lovely. I'm looking forward to sharing that with people in the whale class. So that was a limitation we definitely took off of ourselves, and something that I never believed was possible, but Reiki showed that it certainly was. And Reiki does that anyway. It just naturally peels off our limitations one at a time. But if you can be aware of where you, but Reiki, of course, will never do anything we don't want it to do. And so sometimes with our lack of awareness of where we might be limiting ourselves, or with a limitation that we're not aware of, we can sometimes get stuck and in certain areas of our lives. And you can look at it, and I've noticed, like, I've looked at my life and it's like, wow, it's going so fantastic in these 4 areas. And in these 2 over here, they need a little work. So it can be like that as well. Like, we don't necessarily limit ourselves across the board. But one of the things, after I was just mentioning, I've had 2 weeks of vacation, which I don't often get, and it's been lovely. And we took the vacation on Campobello Island. One of the things we're learning about, or that I've learned about in that time, is I've learned a little bit about Eleanor and Franklin Roosevelt, because their summer home was on the island, and as well, and it's actually now an international park that you can visit. And one of the things that you can do is it's actually 2,800 acres of beautiful hiking trails and biking trails, and you can visit their cottage, and you can also do something called Tea with Eleanor, where you go and it's all free. Everything is free. It's unbelievable. And so I've been learning a lot about Eleanor Roosevelt. And one of the things that's fascinating, because Eleanor Roosevelt, a lot of people don't realize it, but she was very instrumental. In fact, probably one of the main leaders in coming up with the human rights acts that we all benefit from today. Eleanor was a very strong advocate for the rights of everyone, and very unusual at that time. And but she was a member of the UN, the United Nations, on behalf of the US, and she was the key figurehead. And so she's actually, for all of the work that she's done, the volunteer work, just everything she's done, and the social policies that she helped to form and reform and this sort of thing, she's actually considered the most influential woman of the century. And what's incredible about that, I'm just in the middle of her autobiography right now. I'm a huge fan of this woman. And even people that didn't like FDR at the time, I've met some people at the teas and stuff, and a lot of our American friends who've said, yeah, my mother didn't like FDR, but she loved Eleanor. And everybody loved Eleanor. There's there was a cute little quote from somebody from Maine. Maine is a very republic state, and it was a man about his wife, and he said, "Yep, she's voted Republican for all her life, and there she goes trotting off after Eleanor Roosevelt, a Democrat." So she was very popular, and it's so interesting that she was the most influential woman of the century, because as a child she was very fearful of everything, and she felt she had a lot of character defects. She also didn't have a very easy life, and she was orphaned also at a pretty young age, but she was afraid of everything. And so it's so interesting that she was able to overcome that and then step into her greatness. One of the things I've noticed about limitations is that so many times we believe we're flawed. We've talked about that in some other podcasts and some other Reiki shares before, that when we try on a pair of jeans and they don't fit, we never say, "Darn it, why don't they make jeans that fit somebody gorgeous like me?" We say, "Oh no, what's wrong with me?" That's the first thing that we go to. Why doesn't this look good on me? Why does it doesn't look good on you? Because it wasn't designed for you, probably. But that's not what we think. We immediately think that there's something wrong with us, and that inner voice can get very critical. This is an example of some of the limits that we place upon ourselves, and that Reiki can help lift off of us if we would let it. But if you think about any areas of your life that aren't working as well as you'd like, you've probably got some limitations there, and whether they're external, culturally created, or internal, created from your own thoughts and beliefs, they're probably still impacting and affecting you. And one of the biggest limitations, and we talk about this in Animal Reiki because it showed up, that the animals just want us to see ourselves the way they see us. And they see us without flaws and without limitations. And one of the limiting beliefs, sort of an overarching limiting belief that the animal kingdom showed us, is a belief in original sin, a belief that we're born flawed. And so if that is part of your core tenets or your core belief system, then that's fine. Feel free to keep it. But if you feel that you have outgrown that belief and outgrown the belief that you are flawed, and you're ready to reach for your magnificence, then you can actually ask for that limiting belief to be lifted from you. And so just make a note of that. If that's something that you're interested in, if you feel that might be a part of your psyche, and a lot of people say, "I don't actually believe in that anymore," or maybe never believed in it. And yet it becomes part of a lot of our psyches just because we were raised in a culture that believed that. And so it's all around us. So even if it wasn't really hammered into us, the culture around us believes that. And so I want to just focus a little bit on just that belief that we're flawed, that belief that there is something inherently wrong with us that is common. And I was just starting to talk with the group that is here for the Reiki share tonight before we started, and I started to tell a story about a superhero, and it's Captain Marvel, I believe, and our family is a big Marvel. We enjoy going to the Marvel movies together. My son in particular is a big fan, and he can probably recite just about everything from them. But one of the female superheroes, Captain Marvel, and it was such an interesting show because she was human, but she was actually raised on another planet. And on the other planet, they were much stronger and more athletic and more agile. So they actually gave her a blood transfusion to give her the opportunity to be strong and agile and so on, like they were. And they were always saying, like, you've got to get rid of the humanness and that weakness that's in you. And at one point in her journey, she realizes that the human side of her, all her life she had been told that the human side of her was weak and flawed and needed to be suppressed and needed to be gotten rid of. And at one point she just has an epiphany, and she realizes that it's the human in her that, as many times as she fell down, made her always get back up. And she started to go through her memories of all of the resilience of human beings, and how no matter how many times they got knocked down, they always got back up. And so she decided to embrace the humanness of her and the human side of her nature. And we were just talking about the floods in Australia right now, that a lot of people are experiencing the third wave of floods, and they're having a very difficult time and difficult decisions and this sort of thing. Just that amazingness of human resilience. And just ever since seeing that movie, I can't look at humans the same way. I've always been amazed by how natural disasters and really difficult things bring out the best and the worst in people, but mostly the best. And you can just see people just stand up and become heroes and help others and be selfless and be amazing. But when you think about it, there's a tremendous amount of beauty and magnificence in being human. And so I want us to tap into that and tap into our human potential today. So in order to figure out what limitations might be there for us, I've given you a few, but there may be other limiting. I'm sure there's a lot of limiting beliefs that we all carry around from day to day. I'd like you to finish the following sentences for me. And I'd just like you to go ahead and write, or you can think of the words. And I'm going to give you a few moments with each of them. And so the first sentence starts with, I can't. And I'd like you to just continue writing. I can't, and just keep writing from that. What can't you do? What are the things that you cannot do? And it might be a short list or it might be a long list, but I'm going to give you a little bit of time just in case it's a long one. For those of you who are finished, the next sentence I'd like you to give some thought to is, I don't. And just go ahead and fill that in with whatever crosses your mind. I don't. If you're still working on I don't, keep working on that. But for anyone who's ready to move on, I'd like you to finish this one. I won't. And then we'll move to, I keep reaching over, my husband's falling asleep, and it's okay until he gets snoring a little loudly. Then the next is I mustn't. I must not what? And then finally, guys, we're going to finish it with I'm not. What are you not? And this is just pointing out some of the limitations that we have placed upon ourselves or that exist. Is anyone surprised by anything that's there? Or is there anyone who would like to share? Are there any either sharing in the chat or sharing out loud? I'd love to share some examples. I know I found as I went through it, some of the things that showed up is I felt that I wasn't disciplined and that I couldn't lose weight. And I was really surprised by how many things were still there and that I felt that I couldn't do or that I wouldn't do. And when it was I won't be successful at finishing my book on time and things like that. And when you look at it, there's a good chance I will be successful at that. I wonder why I believe that. And as you were going, Amanda found as she was going that her answers shifted from negative to self-affirming. So it's already the Reiki is already working. That's fabulous. Anybody have anything to share or any examples before we move into our meditation?
I put one of the first ones was I can't be happy because I don't know how.
Wow. There you go.
So, and that for me is, I find like I have lots of moments of joy and happiness,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's overthinking things, especially when I'm with Pippa because of the way I was brought up. I'm like, I want more joy. I'm always searching when I'm not just being present in the moment
And
or
take,
being at peace or whatever.
wow.
Yeah. So that was a neat one for me to look at.
I love that one because it gives you your starting point. Because I don't know how. And it's like, oh, all I have to do then is figure out how.
Or ask Reiki to show me.
Ask Reiki to show me how.
Yeah.
Exactly. And make it a little bit of a study and figure out, oh, wow, when I do this makes me happy. I've discovered that when I go bike riding, especially if I take my Baxter, my really fast dog, and when there's not much traffic, I'll take him for a run up the road and back on the bike, and sometimes I'll take a slower bike so little Izzy can come too. And that just makes my heart sing. And or I'll take them out on the trail. I can't believe how much I like riding a bike.
It's pretty fun. It's joyful.
It really is. And so that's been a goal of mine, is putting a lot more joy in my life, and it's fantastic actually. So I love it. And oh, there's a belief that you don't believe you deserve to be happy and successful. And the must not was I must not be good enough. Oh, these are some good ones, guys. Isn't it so interesting that shows up? And so my question for you all is that now that you've seen some of these things that are limiting you, are you ready to let them go? Okay, I'm getting some yeses and some nods, and okay, I think I even got a heck yeah. So it's time to let that go. That's the thing. And we don't need to do anything to deserve it. We just have to be willing to let these limiting beliefs go today. And I was shown that we can actually take these beliefs to the ocean of holy love. And even some of them, they might not be completely clear, like you might have a partial thought there, but just that awareness that this is a limiting belief, this is something that's limiting me. I'd like to invite you to bring it along with you and let it go, even if you don't have a 100% full understanding of what it is. I had a discussion with Colleen about karma, and she explained that she had been shown that karma was, we say, oh, something, oh, that's my karma, or that's karma. And she had been shown that karma was simply wanting to stay in a difficult space long enough to understand it fully. But that each and every one of us, while we may decide to do that in certain instances, can always say at any time, I understand this enough now, I'm ready to move on. And so you can release the karma in that way. So karma is actually an intentional staying in something difficult to learn more about it. And I thought that was such an interesting interpretation of it. So regardless of where you are or what the beliefs are, if you're simply willing to let them go today, I'd love to take you to the ocean of holy peace, and we can let them go.
Pam, what was that sentence? I understand this enough now. I'm ready to let it go.
Yeah, I'm ready to, yeah, I understand enough about this difficulty. I'm ready to let it go. And that's whenever we seem to get stuck in karma, there is some part of us that wants to understand it fully. And I see that all the time. I see people who stay stuck in difficult situations, even if they have, say, Reiki as a tool. And I think, why are they still stuck in that difficult situation? They could get themselves out if they wished. But they dig into it and they're like, no, I want to learn about this part of it, and I want to learn about that part of it, and I want to learn about this other part of it. And they really dig in and they stay there. And I talk about sometimes high flying and low flying discs, that as our vibration rises higher and higher, we get on a high flying disc and everything becomes quite more effortless and joyful and this sort of thing. But even from that high flying disc, we sometimes get knocked down onto a lower flying disc. Now, typically, we get knocked down there in order to learn something. And it's usually something we've planned for ourselves, like it's part of our life path. When we experience a difficulty, we planned that difficulty because there was something specific our soul wanted to learn from it. And Esther Hicks talks about get in there, learn what you needed to learn, and then get back on your high flying disc. But she said a lot of people stay on that low flying disc and say, oh no, what did I do wrong? I'm a Reiki practitioner. Did I do something? And they dig in and they try to figure it out. And that's my understanding of karma. If you get down on that low flying disc, that difficult life circumstance, that uncomfortable place, and you stay there and you stay there and you stay there and you just dig in, like, why am I here? And what is this? And you try to learn everything about it. Instead, you could just ask Reiki, please show me what I was meant to learn from this experience, and then move back up onto your high flying disc and begin to enjoy the comfort and beauty again. And sometimes I'm sure I spend too long on the low flying disc too. I think everybody does at times. For one reason or another, we want to learn more or figure it out more. And Gurjeet says, that's me with everything, overthinking it. And thinking that you need to learn absolutely everything from a situation in order to prevent yourself from experiencing something that painful or difficult again. Thank you for that, Gurjeet, because that is so true. You are not even close to being alone. Like I think most people do that. The fact is, guys, there's always going to be more low-flying discs. Always. And I have them just as much as anybody else does. However, what's different now than, say, 10 years ago or 12 years ago when I was just learning Reiki is that I recognize them now and I'm like, oh, learning opportunity, goody. I wonder what I'm going to learn now. And I don't stay there very long. Like, even if it's something really difficult. And I also know that I'm not going to be staying there very long. So I'm like, okay, let's figure out this difficult thing. Why am I here? What am I meant to learn? And I'm really good at Cole's Notes versions. Like, I don't need to know everything. Just give me a summary, because I don't have a very good memory anyway, so I'm not going to remember the details. So just give me the highlights and the cliff notes, and I'm good. I'll jump right back up on that high flying disc again and start enjoying life. And William Rand probably impacted me the most with that. He was talking about psychic attack, and when he was the victim of psychic attack, how much he appreciated it because it showed him an area of his own energy that he needed to work on. And I thought, William, you're probably the only person in the world who feels that way about that. But I really respected that. And I started looking at the difficult things the same way. Oh, here's a difficult thing. There's something I'm supposed to learn from this. I wonder what it is. And as soon as you shift the conversation to that and you allow Reiki to begin helping you, the Reiki's like, oh, good. I thought you'd never ask. Here's what you wanted to learn. And you go, oh, great, thank you. Now I can go back up on my high-flying disc and be comfortable again. So it is really profound. I can't emphasize how profound that is, and how much we never need to stay stuck in the difficulties. It's our beliefs usually that keep us stuck. And it's usually fear, like fear of, okay, I don't want to wind up here again. You're probably not going to wind up exactly there. You may stay there for a while. It's like a river. However, you will continue repeating a pattern until you learn what you came to learn. So the most helpful and the most expedient thing is, please show me what I was meant to learn. And I think we'll incorporate that into our Ocean of Holy Love experience today. So thanks for that inspiration. I appreciate it. Anything else, guys, before we move into our experience, our meditation this evening? Okay, thanks for this conversation. I loved it. I am going to invite everybody to make yourselves comfortable. And there is going to be a considerable period of silence in our meditation tonight, so don't feel that you've lost connection or anything. I will bring everybody back at the end, and for those that are here in person, we'll have an opportunity to share. And so tonight we're going to move into the Ocean of Holy Peace and Ocean of Holy Love experience, and in particular, with our limiting beliefs. I invite you to imagine that it's a beautiful, warm, sunny day and that you're walking through a trail in a beautiful forest. As you walk along and as you breathe into yourself, you breathe in the life essence of the forest. And the energy of the earth flows up through the bottoms of your feet. You find yourself walking through great sequoia trees. These ancient, beautiful, wise trees. And you're a little bit in awe of the wisdom that's here for you to access today. And as you walk along, you notice the earth beneath your feet become sandy, and you notice that you're coming to the end of the sequoia trees, and in front of you is a small beach, sandy beach. And on the other side of the beach is the Ocean of Holy Peace. I invite you to walk forward today, forming the intention to release any of the limiting beliefs you've identified. And if you would like, you can also form an intention to release limiting beliefs that you may not have identified or may not be aware of, if that feels comfortable for you. And I invite you to walk over to the beautiful ocean. As the sun shines on it, it seems to glimmer and shimmer with just a slight pink hue. And I invite you to step into the ocean and to lie down. And as you do, you notice that your angels and your guides and the divine animals are all here with you, and they step into the ocean with you. You are not alone. And at the beginning, we'll float in the ocean, but at any time, if you feel like swimming or diving, exploring the depths of the ocean, understand that you can breathe in this beautiful water of the ocean of holy peace. And that as you do, it fills you and imbues you with vitality and energy and peace itself. But for now, I invite you to just lie down and float in the water. Just beginning to release your worries and your cares. Any energy that you may be holding on to that's not your own. Just pulling your personal energy in close to you and just watching other people's expectations or projections of you or about who you are, just watching them drop away into the water. And as they do, they're just dissolved, and they dissolve into this beautiful sparkles. And that beautiful beam of light pierces a cloud above you and shines directly upon you and all around you. The light from the heart of God. And at the same time, the ocean of holy peace contains this light as well as the light from the divine earth. And so you feel enveloped and held in the arms of the divine, whatever name you use for it. The Reiki energy is all around you. You invite the Reiki energy to release these limiting beliefs, self-doubt, issues of self-worth. And releasing any traumas or injuries as well that may be at the root of some of these beliefs. And some of the beliefs may not be attached to trauma or injury, but may yet still be limiting you. And just releasing any and all limiting beliefs, limitations that you've placed upon yourself or that have been placed upon you by your culture, your loved ones. And just feeling into the peace and the freedom. Allowing yourself to dream of what's possible. Now that the limitations have dissolved into the ocean. And we're going to stay here for some time today. And I invite you to stay here as long as you'd like. Whenever you're ready, you can take a deep breath, focus your attention on your eyes. Slowly open your eyes and return. And as you return, just connect into the freedom, the limitlessness, tapped into the field of possibilities. And understanding that you are worthy of everything beautiful that this life has to offer. Thank you for being here this week. Ahomatakwiowasan and Namaste.